Greetings to all. Welcome to Future of this Academy. Today we are going to see 17th May daily current affairs. Today we are going to discuss about the topics of important news of today. And the first topic is right to private property, and the second one is cyclone. Here the right to private property comes under GS 2 paper and cyclone comes under GS 1 paper. Now we'll have detailed analysis of these two topics. Our first topic is about right to private property. Under the Constitution, we have to know about this provisions. Under the Article 19, Class 1 and Subclass F and Article 31 says that the right to property as a fundamental freedom. Also, this clause forbid taking property from citizens without a court order and guaranteed their ability to own, possess, and dispose of it. Here, the First Amendment Act of 1951 says that it has been amended the article class 19 class 1 subclass F and 31 by recognizing the need for agrarian reforms and addressing social inequalities. Also, it has allowed the government to impose property rights restriction in the public interest. The next is 44th Amendment 1978. It says that most notable modification was made to the Constitution by this 44th Amendment Act, which completely eliminated the fundamental right to property. And under June 20, 1979, Article 19, Class 1F and Article 31 have been removed. Article 300A has been added under this. Article 300A has been added under this 44th Constitution Amendment Act to govern the right to property. According to Article 300A, it says that a person cannot be deprived of their property unless they have a legal authority to do. The previous classes, the current position emphasizes that property rights are not unqualified and can be governed by law. There are some of the cases which related to this property. Here the first case is State of Madras versus Gopalan, A.K. Gopalan, in the year 1950. In this case, the Madras High Court here was among the first court addressed the tension between the right to property and the state's authority to regulate it. The Madras Maintenance of Public Order Act 1949 says that the state has the right to seize any property in order to maintain a public order, which upheld by the court as constitutional. In second case, the second case is Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala in the year 1973. It says the basic structure of doctrine. It brought doctrine as the basic structure and it became common. Also, even though it has nothing to do with the right to own property, it is important to comprehend the constitutional context. In a land ruling, the Supreme Court held that although the Parliament can amend the Constitution, it cannot change the fundamental framework of the document. Later, amendment that made the right to property a legally recognized right was somewhat influenced by this case. Under this, the right to property have been legally recognized. And the third case is Minerva Mills Limited versus Union of India in the year 1918. Under this, the Supreme Court invalidated certain provisions of the 42nd Amendment Act 1976, which granted Parliament unrestricted authority to modify the Constitution. The court noted that although the right to property is no longer a fundamental right, it is still protected by the Constitution even though it was abolished by the amendment. The fourth case is Jilbai Nanbai Kachar versus State of Gujarat in the year 1995. Here, the Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution basic structure doctrine does not include the right to property. That's all from this topic, right to private property. The next is about cyclones. First, we have to know about what is cyclones. Cyclones is the low pressure center. Where the low pressure is seen high is called as cyclones. It is the closed isobar with increasing pressure outward encircle them. Outside, the winds are blowing inside the center of the low pressure. In the northern hemisphere, they rotate counterclockwise, and in northern hemisphere, they rotate in counterclockwise, and in southern hemisphere, they do clockwise. And the force of the pressure gradient and the lowest pressure at the center cause this air to flow inward. Blowing winds are redirected from their paths by the Coriolis force, which is directed leftward in the southern hemisphere and rightward in the northern hemisphere. So here we have some of the types of cyclones. What are those? The first one is temperate cyclone, which is also called as extratropical cyclones or wave cyclones, and the next is tropical cyclone. First, we'll see what is temperate cyclone. Temperate cyclones, which are low pressure centers formed in the mid latitudes during the winters in both hemispheres, are also known as extratropical cyclones or the wave cyclones. They originate from the convergence of two opposing air masses in the areas that span 35 to 65-degree latitude in both hemispheres. Winter time is when they occur most frequently and intensely because of the high thermal contrast. The formation of these temperate cyclones is explained by the polar front theory. So, which states that front genesis is the prerequisite for temperate cyclone formation. The same circumstances that are needed for the front form also needed to the exist of the temperate cyclone to form. The temperature, pressure, density and humidity of the air differ when two opposing air masses are present. Also, the two masses of air have to travel in the same direction. Due to the convergence of seizable and opposing air masses, temperate cyclones are wide-ranging weather systems. Temperate cyclones can occasionally span an area of roughly 10 lakh square kilometers. In an upper troposphere, temperate cyclones can reach altitudes of up to 10 kilometers from the sea level. The source of the energy for temperate cyclone is moisture found in hot, humid, and lighter area air masses. Later on, the moisture contributes to the creation of cooling condensation clouds, which lead to the rainfall. Temperate cyclones can also form over both continental and oceanic surfaces because these moisture in warm air masses serves their energy of source. Since temperate cyclones are mid-latitude cyclones, they are mainly influenced by the westerlies, which are permanent mid-latitude winds. These cyclones move eastward from their point of origin at the average speed 32 km per hour in the summer and the 48 km per hour in the winter. So the cyclones of formation is a shift process that goes through several stages or sections. So the life cycle of the cyclone is the duration of storm from its beginning in, that is cyclogenesis, to its end frontolysis or occlusion. It is finished in 6 phases that have been explained by the polar front theory. What is the first phase? It entitles the convergence of two masses with dissimilar physical characteristics and orientations. In a second stage, it says that this sees the warm and cold air masses piercing each other's spheres of influence and formation a wave-like front due to Coriolis force. The third stage, it says about the cyclone is fully developed and the isobars nearly round at this point, marking the mature stage. At this stage, the cyclone's energy and intensity are in their peak. Nimbostratus clouds produce rain along with the warm fronts, while cumulonimbus clouds produce heavy rain at the cloud fronts. Next, in the fourth stage, as the warm front recedes and cold front fully stops, the cyclonic system energy reservoir begins to diminish, causing the warm sector of the cyclone to become a narrow one. Next, in the fifth stage, the cyclone occlusion occurs when the warm front finally gives way to advancing cold front, creating an occluded front. Both the wind and rainfall intensifies, get progressively weaker. In the stage 6, a cold air mass covers the surface, that occluded front is eliminated and the cyclone eventually dies out in the warm sector. Now, we have to know along with this what is the western disturbance. Under this influence, the subtropical westerly jet streams wave cyclones that originate over the Mediterranean and Caspian seas and move eastward. Western disturbance forms in the Mediterranean and the Caspian Sea and moves in eastward direction. During the winter, cyclones make their way into northwestern India, where they produce snowfall on the Himalayan mountain ranges and encompasses Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. They support rabi crops by bringing rainfall to the plains of Punjab, Haryana, western Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and the northern Rajasthan. The next is tropical cyclone. Here, the tropical cyclone in the north and southern hemispheres, the tropical cyclones between 5 and 30 degrees. The absence of Coriolis force do not form over or close to the equator. They are low latitude, low pressure and atmospheric systems. Tropical cyclones are distinct from extratropical, and temperate cyclones originate in areas lie between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. So it originates in this area. There are many different types of cyclones and they differ greatly in terms of size, speed and weather. The various names for subtropical cyclones in various parts of the world are: in the Southeast Asia, the tropical cyclone is called as typhoons. In Caribbean Sea, it is called as hurricane. In Indian Ocean, it is called as tropical cyclone. In north coast of Australia, it is called as Willy Willy. And in the United States, Mississippi Valley, a tornado is the smallest and deadliest type of cyclone. Also, there are small funnel-shaped storms that are for mostly destructive and violent of all storms. Extremely low pressure, which it defines as the tornado center. Winds rush hard with great force and high velocity of 600 to 800 km towards the center to steep pressure gradient. So, there are some of the following circumstances which exist for tropical cyclones to form. They are like the existence of warm ocean surface with a minimum temperature of 27 degrees Celsius forms the tropical cyclone, and the thermal convection and the strong hot humid currents originate from the warm surface. This is the reason the tropical cyclones which are influenced by the warm ocean currents typically over the east coast of continents. Also, the inflow of trade winds in the intertropical convergence zones facilitates the intensification of low pressure and increases the supply of moisture. The Coriolis force aids in the circulatory system generation by deflecting strong winds. The presence of Coriolis force in the tropical cyclones do not form close to the equator. High levels of moisture in the atmosphere will contribute to the latent heat of vaporization that serves as the tropical cyclone as the primary energy source. The least amount of vertical wind shear necessary to permit unhindered upward air current flow. Air is the upper troposphere divergence here. Also, a tropical cyclone that is fully developed consists of eye, inner eye, and outer eye wall. Eye, inner eye wall, and the outer eye wall. So in eye, the eye has the lowest pressure. It is an area with a high humidity and temperatures. In addition, there are no clouds, winds or rain in this area. In inner eye wall, it is the tropical cyclone's most damaging component. It is distinguished by heaviest rainfall and powerful winds. Cumulonimbus clouds are responsible for producing this rainfall. And an outer eye wall, it is the tropical cyclone's outermost region. Both wind speed and amount of rainfall are relatively low in this area. Here, when the tropical cyclone crosses oceans, it intensifies rapidly, but as it crosses the land, it weakens and eventually vanishes when it reaches the interior of the continents. This is the reason why cyclones only affect the continent's coastal regions. So that's all from our today's topics. To get this PDF download, you can get from our Telegram channel. The link will be provided in the description. Thank you.